Hello, everyone. How are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PNC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. We're going to go right into this. Very important for those of you who are involved with industry or just wanting to get a little bit nosy with quality, especially when you get your ass on a plane. If it's Boeing, don't get going. And I can say that. Many times I can say that because I'm a shareholder of Boeing. I'm not bad-mouthing them. I am telling you a fact. They came out in 2002, both in April and July, of a supplier notification that said, if you are heat treatment through NADCAP or welding through NADCAP, send your certs, send your parts, and we don't have to come out to visit you. Also, in July of 2002, that was in April, in July they came out with a supplier notification for, it was called Supplier Bulletin. And it stated on there that, send in your parts as long as they're AS9100, as long as they are accredited through the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board, ANSI and ANEP. As long as they're accredited to that, you're good to go. Send in your parts, send in your certs, send in your parts, we're good to go. And then the liability, most recently took those down off their supplier portal. You know why? Because of me, because their lawyers probably said, that guy Guberman's telling the truth. They have on those two bulletins, if need be or need arises. That's when they will go out and see a supplier. That means when a door pops off like the Alaska Air or when a plane crashes, that heightens it to if need be or need arises. So here we go. The hidden rot in quality management, how corrupt certification practices undermine industry standards. QA expert Daryl Guberman exposes the failures of Boeing and the quality certification system. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today not just as a quality expert with over 40 plus years of experience, but as someone who refuses to sit idly by while corruption erodes the very foundation of quality management. The failures we see today in aerospace, medical, and manufacturing sectors are not random accidents. They are systematic failures born from a rigid quality certification framework designed to benefit corporations and federal agencies while leaving public safety and product reliability in jeopardy. Boeing serves as the perfect case study in this deception. In July 2002, Boeing issued a supplier bulletin mandating that all companies supplying materials must be AS9100 certified, but only through the American National Standards Institute and the American National Crediting Board. ANSI took over complete control over the American National Crediting Board in 2018. This mandate created an exclusive pipeline locking suppliers into a system controlled by these entities. ANSI ANAB, the corrupt underwriters of quality certification. The real scandal behind ANSI ANAB isn't just their control over certification. It's that they are also serve as underwriters for all the accreditation bodies operating under the International Accreditation Forum, which is incorporated in Delaware, and the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, which is its sister organization in Australia. This means, ladies and gentlemen, that ANSI ANAB legally assume all liability for systematic and product failures tied to certifications granted under their oversight. In other words, when companies like Boeing, Lockheed, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson, all of whom had ties to ANSI ANAB, produced defective products or experienced catastrophic failures, ANSI and ANAB, as their accreditation underwriters, are ultimately responsible. Yet, despite assuming this legal liability, ANSI and ANAB continue to protect corporations and federal agencies and vice versa, instead of enforcing true quality management. The self-policing corruption of ANSI ANAB. The same ANSI ANAB certification ecosystem that governs Boeing suppliers also governs Boeing itself, forming an unchecked monopoly. Boeing's name was explicitly listed on the ANSI ANAB Management Committee, which had the power to grant, suspend, or withdraw certification, a blatant conflict of interest, and they took that off their webpage. You cannot find it. We have a snapshot of that. Just like those two documents I told you about, the supplier notifications of April and July 2002, Boeing took those down too, right around January 2025. I think ANSI ANAB took their thing off the website, off the webpage of Management Committee that shows Boeing being able to grant, suspend, and withdraw certification in other companies. But it doesn't stop here. ANSI and ANAB are the architects behind the International Accreditation Forum and a Delaware registered entity and the overseas global accreditation and overseas global and international accreditation bodies. Its sister organization, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, ILAC, is headquartered in Australia. This system ensures that all accreditation bodies under ANSI-ANAB's influence operate under the same compromise framework. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, role in the quality accreditation. Now, here's where things get even more disturbing. The IAF was chaired by a communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, during a critical period, 2015 to 2021. This means that Boeing, along with other U.S. aerospace, medical, and defense suppliers, along with corporations, again, and federal agencies, were indirectly or directly under the oversight of the Chinese national operating within the international accreditation body. They are also, Zhao Jinwu was also mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. And by the way, the DOD, the DHS, the FBI, the DOT, I already said DOT, so you have also the FBI, FAA, FDA, CDC, NIH, EPA, they all sit on about 70 federal agencies sit on there. This raises serious national security concerns as it exposes supply chain to foreign influence and potential manipulation. If the very foundation of quality accreditation is compromised by foreign interests, how can we trust, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow citizens and business owners, safety of aircraft, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and defense systems? Boeing's certification of hypocrisy. For 22 years, Boeing demanded that its suppliers maintain AS9100 certification, yet Boeing itself only sought AS9100 certification in 2024. Do you hear that, Steve? Do you hear that, Stan? Do you hear that, Matt? Do you hear that, the other Steve? Do you hear it? How does, and by the way, Brian and also Taylor, do you hear that? Do you hear that? How does a company justify requiring compliance from suppliers while avoiding the same scrutiny for over 2 decades? This is the height of hypocrisy and a damning indictment of the voluntary consensus standard system. Even with Boeing's newfound AS9100 certification, remember, and it's accredited by the same body that they're sitting and pushing with their suppliers, ANSI-ANAB, and that certificate, make a paper airplane. Even with Boeing's newfound AS9100 certification, the reality remains certification does not guarantee quality. Boeing's repeated failures, from the MCAS disaster to its $8.1 million fine for quality failures at its V-22 composite facility in Pennsylvania, prove that a paper-based audits and self-policing standards do not, and I mean do not, ensure safety or quality. The solution: breaking free from corrupt quality cartel. If we are serious about real quality management, we must eliminate conflicts of interest. Companies like Boeing cannot sit on committees that govern their own certifications. And ANSI-ANAB, and that goes for Boeing, Lockheed, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and so many others. And ANSI-ANAB monopolization. Open the accreditation market to truly independent third-party certifiers. Number 3, expose and reject foreign influence. The presence of Communist Chinese national leading IAF should have never been tolerated by U.S. aerospace and defense accreditation, along with the federal government agencies. Enforce on-site auditing. Voluntary consensus standards have led to unchecked corruption and life-threatening failures. We must return to independent on-site inspections. Hold ANSI-ANAB accountable, since these organizations serve as underwriters for accredited entities. They must be held legally responsible for failures that occur under their certification oversight. Final thoughts. Quality management is failing because the very institutions responsible for upholding it have been compromised. If we allow corruption, self-certification, foreign influence to dictate our standards, we risk more catastrophic failures, national security and threats, and loss of public trust. The time for cosmetic fixes is over. We need a full-scale reformation of quality certification system, and it starts now. And it starts with Daryl Guberman, 203-556-1493. And you know who you are, who I mentioned. Shame on you. The best is yet to come.